Hey guys, that's me waving. What's up? How you doing? I'm trying to get better at talking about stuff, maintaining my online presence. How am I doing? I really liked a lot of movies that came out in 2025. As I like a lot of movies that come out every year, I feel like I should be a harsher critic. But I'm not. I'm pretty easy to impress. I like a lot of shit. Something I'm really interested in is the maintenance of the Hollywood industry through movie stars. I believe that, as long as movie stars exist, then we have a healthy film industry, or at least the possibility of a healthy film industry. I don't know, maybe that's not true. Maybe you don't need movie stars. I like that there's movie stars. I like that there exist people who are so likable and or talented that they drive audiences to movies purely based off of their presence in those movies. I think we've gone through different waves of movie stars. Throughout all of movie history, there have been movie stars. And I think somewhere around the late 2000s, early 2010s, that kind of started to shift to where, and this has been talked about to death, instead of movie stars, you had sort of characters and IP. In the last few years in movies, I think you're starting to see the return of that classic movie star again. I really like that. I like that, and I'm really interested in how these actors are maintaining their brands, how they're driving interest towards their films, and I feel like every new movie that comes out with one of these people is an opportunity to examine what they're doing right or wrong. And so with this video, I want to sort of grade them, I guess. I want to sort of examine each of who I think the big players are, at least in 2025 as far as movie stars go, and see how they did throughout the year. What they came in with and what they left the year with, and possibly how things are going to go this coming year in 2026. So to start us off, I want to talk about Timothée Chalamet. I think any discussion about modern movie stars would not be complete without discussing him, because he's everybody talks about him all the time. They say he's the modern Leonardo DiCaprio or something. I think he's an interesting guy. I think he's talented. Coming into 2025, he started the year with an Oscar nomination for playing Bob Dylan, which is pretty sick. I thought he did a pretty good job with that. I love Bob Dylan, so pretty cool. He ruffled some feathers, but also drove some interest and engagement with his SAG speech, last year's SAG Awards, talking about wanting to be one of the greats of all time. In my opinion, I think that was a jump start on the Marty Supreme marketing. I do think that that is an authentically held desire / belief with him, but I don't think he would necessarily voice it without the marketing sort of vision of Marty Supreme just around the corner, because he did spend the following year sort of pumping that image out into the world more consistently, marketing his next movie as an athlete would be marketing their upcoming game or something. I don't watch sports. So that was what was interesting to me about Timothée Chalamet, and a lot of people were sort of rubbed the wrong way about this approach to marketing, which is understandable. It's obnoxious. It's sort of annoying. But I do think it was effective, and it obviously kept a lot of the conversation on him in a way that I don't think was too alienating, not as much so as like maybe some other people we'll talk about later on in this video. But yeah, I think he did a pretty good job of marketing his movie, which leads us to Marty Supreme, which overall was a very well-received movie. Critically, it got 9 Oscar nominations, including him for actor, which it looks like he will probably win. He's my prediction right now. It also did really well at the box office. For an original movie, it's A24's highest grossing domestic release, I believe, so far. By all metrics, it's doing pretty well. And a big part of that is Timmy's dedication to a marketing campaign. I think he's doing a lot of stuff that not a lot of other actors are out there doing. This is, the bit with the, marketing team, the, Schwepp thing or whatever. This is the, promotion through the rap video with like SD Kid and stuff. And even for like something like A Complete Unknown the year before, seeing him perform Bob Dylan's songs on SNL is kind of unique. I'd never really seen that before. An actor promoting their music biopic by performing the songs of their artist on a show. I think that's pretty cool. While he might have, gotten on some people's nerves and stuff, I don't think it's to the extent that, people truly can hate him for a long period of time. I don't think he's, controversial to that extent yet. I think he might just annoy some people, which is fine. Coming up this year for him, he's got the new Dune movie, which is pretty reliable. That's a good thing for him to do. I wonder if he'll do any sort of marketing gimmicks with that. And then after that, he has like a dirt bike movie with James Mangold that he's doing, I think. That one, I'm like, I don't know, I guess we'll have to see it. My one critique of him going forward would be he can work with pretty much any director he wants, I think, at this point. And I would love to see him work with a director that's more interesting than James Mangold. So I hope he lines up another project. But other than that, he's doing pretty good. Pretty good work acting-wise, maintaining his brand image, all that. Good. So Ryan Coogler is the only person on this list who is not an actor. And I think he is one of the few directors in Hollywood that you could call a movie star. And so for that reason, I am including him in this list. And very obviously, he had a great year. His movie is the most nominated movie of all time at the Oscars, which is insane. He also, his movie made a ton of money. It was a huge financial success. And it's an original movie. It's something I've never seen before. It had kick-ass music and performances and all that. And he also got an outstanding deal as far as the rights to his film and how they will revert back to him after 25 years. That is crazy. That is really cool, and that's a very singular thing, and I think it is pushing creative license and owning what you make in a positive direction in the film industry, which is sort of needed right now. It's a beacon of hope. He also promoted the film format, which is really cool. I love whenever directors do that. I love whenever, and we've been seeing this more and more recently, movies like Sinners can, get people to go to the theater to see movies as they were intended to be seen, either in IMAX or projected on film, or both. He is promoting these grand formats for movies to be seen. And so I think that is another cool thing that he's been doing. Going into the future, it seems like the next thing he's going to be working on is Black Panther 3, which is probably a good thing. Even though that's not the most interesting thing to me personally, I think that is a very reliable thing for him to do. It's that, one for you, one for me. So he does the one that he wants to, his own original and first original movie. And then he goes back to something a little more reliable with Black Panther to sort of, reset things for himself a little bit. If we were comparing him to, honestly, one of the only other directors that is even, like around his size and influence, Christopher Nolan, right now we would say that he's like in the phase of his career where like Nolan would have just done Inception, and so he would have just been going to do The Dark Knight Rises, and so Coogler just did Sinners. That was like his Inception. He's doing Black Panther 3, which means that, just around the corner after Black Panther 3 could be his Interstellar, something bigger, something better. Hard to imagine because Sinners was so fucking cool, but, what if he made something that was even cooler? So, we're giving him a break. Giving him a break by, like, him directing one of the largest superhero franchises, another movie from that franchise. That's like a break, I don't know, maybe I could be wrong about this, but like maybe it's a little less pressure to go from doing one original thing right into doing like another original thing, like, and trying to follow up what is like known in your career as like your masterpiece. This is like a position that I don't really envy that like the Daniels, I think, are in right now. Like, they did Everything Everywhere All at Once. And, like, I know I've heard at least one of them talk about this in an interview of, like, how do you follow that up? It's, like, so nerve-wracking. Like, what if I just, like, mess it up, And I think that by doing Black Panther 3, Ryan Coogler is sort of, like, in a way curving that fear, So pretty good move. Ryan Coogler exits 2025 on top of the world. He got a Best Director nomination on top of all the other fucking nominations that movie got. So, pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, and, kind of sticking to Sinners, Michael B. Jordan had a pretty good year this year. Obviously, he had his, like, Oscar nomination. That's pretty big for him. But even beyond that, obviously being the lead of a very well-grossing original movie is big. That's awesome. And then sort of like on the opposite end of Timothée Chalamet, like in recent weeks, they've sort of been pitted against each other as they've been, both showing up at these award shows and stuff. And a lot of people have come out in just like really amped up Michael B. Jordan's, career, his acting. And, a lot of people think that he deserves to win for the Oscar. And he was amazing in the movie. I don't think he should win, but I definitely think the nomination is deserved. With Michael B. Jordan, his work is a little less. He just has a little bit less than some of the other actors. Like right now, he's pretty much averaging like a leading role in a movie like every other year, which just isn't as much. And then, half of those roles are Creed movies. So it's one of those things where he just like, I'm excited to see what else he can do outside of this stuff. I mean, I know he's had just like some other roles outside of just like Creed and all that. But I'm excited to see him stretch his wings more as an actor, which is what he just did in Sinners, and I think he was amazing at that. Going into the future, I think he is also playing his cards really well, in that his next project is the Thomas Crown Affair, which he is directing, which I'm excited about because I think that his directing in Creed 3 was really cool, really interesting. The choices I thought were original, and he definitely has like a style of his own, which I think is really cool, especially about like an actor turned director, and especially about an actor starring in their own movie. I really liked a lot of his choices in Creed 3, and so I'm excited to see him do Thomas Crown Affair, which is like a heist movie with like a lot of like erotic stuff. I also think it's good that he's leaning into like his sort of like sex symbol image. Like I think that'll like really appeal to like especially a lot of his like female fan base and stuff. It's not like just another action movie or something. The other project he has lined up, which I don't think has started shooting yet, And I don't even know if it's confirmed, but he is at least rumored to be in a remake of Miami Vice, co-starring Austin Butler and directed by Joseph Kosinski. I think that'd be cool. It's definitely like still within that kind of safe realm for him of like action movies, but I think Joseph Kosinski is like a director right now who knows how to like shoot a movie star. He knows how to like make somebody look just like sick, just like cool as fuck. And I would like to see him use those powers on people who aren't like Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt. Like they've had that done for them so many times. I would love for that lens to be on like younger talent. And so I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see that. And so I think Michael B. Jordan is doing pretty good. I'm excited to see what else he does. I wish he would put out a little bit more consistent work, like a movie a year instead of like a movie every other year. But obviously, you never know what's going to happen, right? So Sydney Sweeney had a rough year. Let's be honest. However, that rough year ended on a pretty high note, so I don't think she can't be too sad. Sydney Sweeney had, her fair share of bad press this past year. I think it's really hard to talk about her and pretty much impossible to talk about her and not, talk about the racism allegations and her interview where she just makes it worse and her dating Scooter Braun and like, it is unfortunate and probably not the best if you're a movie star and people are talking way more about your personal life, your views, uh, than your actual like work as an actor. And it's definitely not good if even when they are talking about your movies, they're talking about how much your movies flopped, which is basically what Sydney Sweeney was dealing with for like 90% of the year. So coming into 2025, in 2024, she had the continued success of Anyone But You, which came out late 2023 but made most of its money in 2024. She was very involved with that production, being one of the producers and stars of it. And it was a financial success. It made a lot of money. And it pretty much made her and Glenn Powell into bankable movie stars. They can, at the very least, lead a romance. That was pretty good. She had Madam Web, but she kind of brushed that off. So I don't think anybody is really looking at her weird for that. And then Immaculate was like a horror movie that seemed to do pretty well, especially for its size. So coming into 2025, she was set to have a pretty decent year. Then the jeans ad sort of just like threw that all, sideways at the very least. It doesn't help that she had a couple of like festival movies that were sort of trapped in like this distribution hell for a year or two with Americana and Eden. Those were made at just kind of a different point in her career. And I think possibly because of her like status as somebody who at the very least gets a lot of like buzz around her, they were, I think, in a misguided attempt to capture some of that attention, released in wide release, which just totally backfired. Americana, I haven't seen, but I heard it was pretty good. But, it's an indie movie, and it was released by, I think, Lionsgate, who just, like, I don't know. They just haven't been having good luck themselves at the box office. And then Eden was just like a total mixed bag of a movie, and they released that in wide release, and yeah, I mean I'm not surprised that they didn't do too well. But then you get her two other releases, and one of them was Christie. It is unfortunate because like it is her trying to make a play at like getting an Oscar or something. Like it's her like big serious role where she like transforms for it and stuff. And I think I was definitely more excited about it like when the picture came out of like, her how she looked versus when the movie was actually coming out. I think a lot of the excitement for myself and probably a lot of other people who were excited about the movie sort of dampened. Just with all the buzz around her, nobody really wanted to go see a movie like that for her because who she was appealing to were fucking, progressive people who are into artsy films like me. When she was making something like Christie, but up to that point, the audience that she had built with Anyone But You was like very like normal Taylor Swift loving, girls from like the suburbs and stuff, which is not who's going to see Christie. And then the audience of like, racist gooners who she had spent all of 2025 appealing to, also was not interested in that movie. So just bad, bad, just a bad move on her part. But then, beyond that, things that aren't in her control is that Christie was released by Black Bear. And I believe that that movie was their first time distributing a movie, or at the very least, their first time distributing a movie into wide release once again. And, they just didn't do a very good job of promoting it. I don't think I ever saw a trailer for the movie. And I go to the movie theater a lot. So that's like really weird. So again, total flop. I don't know if she got any nominations throughout the year, maybe at like the Golden Globes or something. I don't even think she got one at the Golden Globes. Yeah, I just don't think she got anything. But saving grace, she ended the year with The Housemaid. And The Housemaid has ended up being a very big financial success, even bigger than Anyone But You. She can't take credit for as much of it as she could with Anyone But You because The Housemaid has Colleen Hoover to go off of, who is like super huge right now, and then Amanda Seyfried, who's sort of like, Sydney Sweeney's wingman. But in her promotional tour for The Housemaid, Sydney made sure to sort of like walk back her like indifference, I guess, to the controversy. So I guess that was a good move on her part. Yeah, and so she has this movie that's made a lot of money. It's one of those things where she's probably in a place in her career where it has made people, I'm sure, maybe a little more apprehensive to work with her because of all that controversy, but it definitely is good that she has had another success. And so even though I would say that that is probably more attributable to Colleen Hoover than it is to her, but her being part of it at all is a good thing for her career. So going into the future, I don't it's unfortunate. I don't think her next move is a very good one. In fact, I don't think it's really a very good move for like anybody involved because I think just being part of the dirge that is Sam Levinson creation process is like just god, Euphoria, like I don't know, it'll get a lot of buzz. People will be talking about it. But as far as like bringing controversy to her career, I don't think more controversy is like what she needs right now. I think she probably just needs to like work on some normal stuff. But yeah, Euphoria's next. And I'm excited for when all of the actors in Euphoria are finally able to just be done with it, to be honest. I think all of them have pretty much outgrown it at this point, and I think at this point it's really only just dragging them down. Yeah, I'm excited for that. As far as movies, she has a few things lined up. She has Split Fiction with John M. Chu lined up. That sounds really fun. I think John M. Chu is like an entertaining director, at the very least, and I think that's a fun concept premise. I never played the game, but I've seen enough footage to be like, okay, that looks fun. I think that's good for her to stretch her wings in, genres that she hasn't really done yet. And also that appeals to her, like, gooner gamer fan base. So that's pretty good. Outside of that, Gundam, that is probably gonna be popular. It's a Netflix movie, which, but it'll get a lot of attention. Again, same fan base. So she has, I think, a couple other things lined up. But as far as going into her future, disregarding Euphoria, I think she's doing a pretty good job at, like, taking projects that are, like, I don't know, big, entertaining kind of blockbuster entertainment. I don't think, unless she's, like, willing to actually be part of the topic, she should take on any more issue movies, like movies that involve queer people or domestic abuse. That's, unless you want to, like, I don't know, make some sort of statement, like, you probably shouldn't do that kind of stuff unless you're comfortable putting yourself out there. You know what I mean? I also think that with her, the big thing is, like, she wants to be known just for her acting, yet she just keeps putting herself out there as, like, a brand, like taking on all these commercials, which is one of these commercials is what sparked all the controversy in the first place. So it's like, if you want to just be known as an actor, as, like, not an issue person, stop putting your face out there in a way that isn't attached to just, like, a role or a movie. Like, if you want to just be known as an actor, just do acting. Stop doing commercials. Stop doing all the stupid bullshit. You know what I mean? It's just like, you say that's what you want to do, and I respect that. Don't put yourself out in the limelight like that. It is very vulnerable. It leaves yourself open to a lot of that controversy and criticism. So stop doing it. If you want to be more private, just be more private. Anyways, I'm done with her. Okay, so my choice of the most, like, shit on person in 2025 who I don't think deserved it is Dakota Johnson. I thought she did pretty good work in 2025. I thought she kind of killed it, actually. Hot take, loved Materialists. I was really into it. I liked what Celine Song was doing. I liked what all the actors were doing. I thought Dakota Johnson was, like, one of the best parts of that movie. I thought her performance was great. And then even more than that, she did a movie called Splitsville, which is one of my favorite movies of the year. Like, I love that movie so much. It's probably the hardest I've ever laughed in a movie theater. Hilarious. And obviously she's a big part of that movie too. I thought she had a great year. But obviously not everybody agrees with me. And that's okay. I disagree with people who say that she's not a very good actor. There's that, like, sort of criticism that she just, like, doesn't act, she plays herself and everything. And, like, yes, like, her roles are not very diverse in terms of, like, she's definitely not, like, a character actor. I think she does a very good job with the roles that she does play. She is definitely more of, like, a personality movie star where she brings her personality to a role versus, totally morphing into whatever the role is requiring of her. You know what I mean? But she's always reliable. I think she's good in what she does. For that reason, I like her. I think she's good. Coming into 2025, I think, I guess a lot of people don't really believe in her because, like, the last thing that people really associated with her was Madam Web. And unlike Sydney Sweeney, uh, Dakota Johnson was, like, the face of that movie. And even though I think her promotional material for that movie was really funny, just in how little she cared about it, obviously it's just, like, not a very good look. Yeah, she had a couple of indies come out last year as well, but, like, obviously, like, they just went under the radar. Most people aren't even aware of them. Yeah, I think it's good that she sort of returned to, what made her big in the first place, which is, movies centering around romance, Materials being sort of like a romantic comedy drama, and then Splitsville just being like a straight up comedy. I thought they both explored, the ideas they were exploring in, fun and interesting ways. Going into 2026, the only movie that she has officially for this year is Verity, which is another Colleen Hoover adaptation. It's got Anne Hathaway and Josh Hartnett. I'm sure that movie will do very well at the box office, as Colleen Hoover tends to do. And it's in a comfortable zone for Dakota Johnson, which is sort of like romance thriller type stuff. I'm sure she'll be good in it, but again, I don't think it's going to be a role where she's like transforming. So like I'm very comfortable with her just like consistently giving these kinds of roles. Like I, can see myself maybe getting tired of it after a while, but like right now I like her. If she has interest in it, she could, really spread her wings and take on a more transformative role. Something that, really forces her to go outside of the box. And maybe that's something that could like earn more people's respect for her as like an overall actor. But I definitely don't think that's necessary. I think if she wants to just continue kind of doing what she's doing, that's fine too. And so, yeah. Okay, Pedro is had an interesting year, I think. He was sort of like feeling really overexposed for like a couple months there because just like everything he had coming out in 2025 came out in the span of like 2 or 3 months. In 2024, he had Gladiator 2 and what else did he have? But yeah, he's an interesting movie star because like I don't think there was like a movie where like you really had, or at least I had the idea of like, oh yeah, this guy is like a movie star. I think it just sort of like happened gradually, and then like at a certain point, I was like, he's probably a movie star, right? Like his year was interesting because nothing he did was overwhelmingly positively received. Like everything he did was divisive to some extent. And so I should say I'm not very like interested in TV. I don't watch a whole lot of TV. So, anytime I bring up like a show in this video, chances are I most likely haven't seen it cuz I like movies. Yeah. Uh, Anyways, all that to say, he was in The Last of Us season 2. I saw season 1, but I never saw season 2, which obviously that was not very well received. But I don't think that his performance was a big reason why. I think that he pretty much comes out of that show unscathed. It seems like if people had a favorite part of season 2, it probably his performance was probably one of their favorite parts. And then outside of that, he had 3 movies in the span of a couple months. He also had a couple like indie releases, but those were pretty inconsequential. I don't think a ton of people saw those, so I'm not really going to talk about them. He had a few movies in the span of basically like the summer, which were Materialists, Fantastic Four, and Eddington. Materialists, I think, was a good move because that really appealed to people who want to see him as a romantic lead. I think that if he does it again, he could be a more definitive romantic lead because in Materialists he like sort of plays like the other guy, versus I think a lot more people would really enjoy just seeing him be a romantic lead in a movie. But, he's still in a romance movie. You still get to see him be like sweet and whatever, all that kissy boy. And then, Fantastic Four, he's getting his bag. He's playing Reed Richards. It's like one of the most iconic superhero protagonists in Marvel. That's going to guarantee him a paycheck for like the next decade, consistent work. So that's awesome. Good for him. I'm not interested in it. I didn't really see that movie, but right on. And then Eddington, which, sort of a divisive movie, but it's from a hugely respected director, and that's a movie that I think will only age better with time. I think there's already a pretty outspoken fan base for it now, including myself. I really like that movie. I hated it the first time I saw it, but then I watched some videos by some smart people that made me appreciate it a bit more, and I saw it again, and I was like, actually, it's pretty good. His performance was an interesting part of that movie. He's not the lead, which is another thing I really like about him. It seems like he's like really willing to work in all kinds of genres, in all kinds of budget scales, and in all kinds of roles. He can be a lead, he can be a supporting role. It doesn't really matter. He's just like a very reliable actor, and every time you see him, he's just like, I feel like he always does solid work. Coming up this year, it seems like it's mostly going to be boring stuff. It's like Avengers and Star Wars, but he does have a movie called Behemoth that is by the creator of Andor, which is pretty cool. And it'll be with him and Olivia Wilde, who looks like she's gonna have a pretty good year this year. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah, I think he's doing a great job. And then the Star Wars and Avengers, that will get him paid, which we love to see. Okay, last of our materialists co-stars is Chris Evans. I don't know, I kind of feel bad for him. like, I feel like he just has never truly been able to escape the shadow over his career that is Marvel, because even in 2024, going into 2025, his two movie credits were Deadpool and Red One, which is basically if you made Christmas into a Marvel movie. And so I think, skipping ahead and not even addressing his work in 2025, but skipping ahead to 2026, his only credit, at least right now, is in Avengers, and he's going back to Marvel. And I think that teaser came out recently where it's he's coming back as Captain America, and it had kind of a muted reception. And I think a big part of that is because it never really felt like he left. At least to me, I just he's doing another superhero movie, and I don't know. He's such a charismatic guy. He's such a charismatic actor, and it feels like he should be doing more diverse work, but he's just not, you know? And I was so refreshed to see him in Materialists being just a normal guy, which I think outside of his supermodel physique, he's really good at playing just a normal down to earth guy, a very salt of the earth dude. I really liked seeing that in him in his performance in Materialists, and it's something I've really missed about him. And he did that as Captain America, but obviously he's playing one of the most iconic superheroes of all time. I want to just see him play a dude. His other credit this past year was Honey Don't, which I mean, Driveway Dolls and Honey Don't, they're fun movies. I feel like if you watch those movies, you either hate them or you think they're kind of fun but not that substantial. I definitely lean more in that direction. I don't hate them, but I feel like most people who even like them can be that was fun. I'm probably just never gonna think about that again. Anyways, his performance in Honey Don't was fun. It's fun seeing him play an evil guy, just a bad guy. It looks like he was having fun. That's pretty much it. I don't know, his career is sort of in an unfortunate place right now, but I guess I can't feel too bad because it seems like he's really just doing it to himself. He just has to take on more interesting shit. Yeah, sorry, Chris Evans. I would love to see you in a cool movie again. So, good luck, buddy. And speaking of Honey Don't, we have Margaret Qualley, who I love. I think she's great. She is sort of like cusp of movie star. Like, I don't quite think she's like a movie star who, like, we haven't seen her like really headline like a big studio movie or anything, but she is somebody that everybody knows. You know what I mean? I definitely think that, like, is at least in part due to her ties in her personal life, either as a nepo baby or being married to like one of the biggest music producers in the world right now. And so, you know, she definitely has connections to big people, but she's been doing consistently good work over the years. In 2024, she obviously had huge hit The Substance, which, you know, box office critically really big deal. She was like pretty close to getting an Oscar nomination for that. And then she had movies, you know, with Ethan Cohen and Yorgos Lanthimos, sort of like lesser material from them, but pretty good, you know, still. And she's working with like interesting directors. And so in 2025, once again, you know, she has a movie with Ethan Cohen. She's leading it. Looks like she's having a lot of fun. I like her performances in those movies. She's sort of like a cartoon character, but I like cartoons. So, she had a supporting role in Happy Gilmore 2. I didn't watch it, so I don't really know how big of a role, but I'm glad she's not like headlining a Netflix movie, because I feel like that, like, I don't know, maybe this is me being pretentious. I feel like it kind of cheapens your brand if you're like doing like a straight to Netflix movie. It's different if it's like a movie that Netflix acquired for the sake of like awards and stuff. Like Train Dreams and Happy Gilmore 2 like aren't on the same level to me. I don't know, maybe that makes no sense, but that's just like how I think about it. But it seems like, and I remember seeing an interview where she was just like, oh, I need to be in Happy Gilmore 2, so I'm not going to hold that against her. You know, she got to do something that was fun for her. And her only other 2025 credit is Blue Moon, which she was good in. I really liked her in. But obviously, that's like the Ethan Hawke show. But cool that she worked with Richard Linklater, right? Going into 2026, I think there's a lot of potential here. She has a sci-fi movie coming out with Ridley Scott and Jacob Elordi. That will be pretty interesting at the very least. Ridley Scott is sort of hit or miss, but he always makes something that at least feels big in scope. Yeah, so I'm excited to see that. She has a romance co-starring White Lotus breakout Patrick Schwarzenegger, directed by Rachel Morrison, a great cinematographer. I am really excited to see Margaret Qualley lead a romance. That will be pretty good, I think. And then she has the Glenn Powell thriller coming out in like a month. That one looks fun, you know. So I like that she is keeping her filmography diverse. I like that she is consistently working with interesting filmmakers. And sort of like Pedro, I think she is comfortable working at many different budget sizes and role sizes. Like, I think it seems to me she's very comfortable being a lead or supporting. She's pretty flexible with that. Yeah, I'm just excited to see her cross over into like more genres and stuff. So Margaret Qualley is doing pretty good. This past year was, you know, whatever, but we're gonna watch her grow. Speaking of the thriller coming out in like a month, How to Make a Million, we have Glenn Powell, which Glenn Powell's year was kind of a downturn from the year prior. In 2024, he obviously, as with Sydney Sweeney, had the continued success of Anyone But You. But then he also had the hit that was Twisters. That was really good, you know, for him at least. I'm still pissed about that kiss. In 2025, it's so sad to see because I'm somebody who really likes Edgar Wright, you know, but I didn't see The Running Man, and that's specifically because I was so pumped for it until I saw multiple reviews from people that I trust saying that not only is it not like good or great, it's just like okay, which isn't even as like entertaining as it is like it's just bad. Like, I just saw so many reviews consistently that were just like it's okay. And I was like, well, shit, like I don't want to like pay money to see something that is like just not going to be like very interesting. And yeah, that sort of like led to it flopping. I don't know, it's just sad because like Glenn Powell is like clearly setting himself up for like a Tom Cruise type career. He's talked about how Tom Cruise has sort of mentored him in this way, and I think it's really cool that he's reaching out to interesting, good filmmakers, and attaching himself to projects with them. He has like a thing in development that's like a sci-fi directed by Barry Jenkins. I would love to see that if it ever happens. He's clearly like going out of his way to cultivate a movie star identity of like somebody who is good, charismatic, works with the best directors in the world. And yeah, I'm kind of wishing him luck in that area. This upcoming year, he obviously has How to Make a Million, or How to Make a Killing, I think is what it's called. Yeah. But then he also has a J.J. Abrams movie coming out, which, like, whatever on J.J. Abrams, but, like, it's with fellow movie star Jenna Ortega. Hopefully it's good, I'm excited. I'll probably see it. Speaking of Jenna Ortega, she had an okay year, I think. She's kind of been like, gaining popularity over the years. Wednesday being the obvious thing that shot her sort of into the stratosphere. Wednesday season 2 premiered this last year, and I haven't seen a single episode of Wednesday, but from what I understand, I know that this past season wasn't as big as the first one, and so that's, a little unfortunate, but it's TV. Doesn't have much impact here. As far as the movie side of things, she did Death of a Unicorn and Hurry Up Tomorrow. That's what it was. And Death of a Unicorn was, I thought, a fun concept, but like okay in execution. It was like kind of fun to watch, but like pretty forgettable. And I think it like made like okay money at the box office. Like I don't think it did anything crazy. But I like that she attached herself to at least something that sounded fun. You know what I mean? And then Hurry Up Tomorrow got pretty dogpiled by people online and did not make a lot of money. I will say personally, hot take, I didn't hate it, and keep in mind, I'm not even like The Weeknd fan. I've tried to get into The Weeknd. I think his songs are like pretty all right, but like it's just I just don't think at the end of the day it's like my kind of music. But I actually did like her in Hurry Up Tomorrow. I think that movie did a pretty good job of like at least breaking her out of like the moody teenager role she's been playing for the last few years, where it's like everything I see her in, she's just like moody teen. I like that in Hurry Up Tomorrow, she's like kind of wacky. She's playing kind of this stalker girl type character, and she's just being very emotive. I like her whole monologue to him when he's like chained on the bed or whatever. She's if the material's not great, she's at least doing something with it. And I admire that. Overall, not an amazing year for Jenna Ortega, but I do think that she is making good choices still. This coming year, she has the previously mentioned J.J. Abrams movie that seems like it's like a supernatural type thing that'll be interesting. And then she has a Taika Waititi movie where she, I think, plays like a robot, I think. Which, like, neither of those directors are, like, in an amazing place, at least, like, perception-wise with, like, movie fans or whatever. But, like, they are both still, like, interesting enough directors to where, like, if somebody is working with them, like, I am interested to see what kind of work that they do with this director, I think I'm probably a little more interested in what she's doing with Taika than J.J. Abrams, but I would be down to see either of them. She also has a Sundance movie called The Gallerist with co-starring Natalie Portman and directed by Kathy Yan, who I believe did Birds of Prey, right? Let me look it up. Yeah, okay, same director as Birds of Prey, which in my opinion is one of the greatest superhero movies to come out in the past decade. So I would love to see that. I've heard very mixed things about it, but I've heard that it's a movie that is just trying to be really fun, has a lot of cool, fun camera techniques and stuff. So I don't really care. I'm excited. I love Natalie Portman. I'm interested to see Jenna Ortega. I really like what I've seen from Kathy Yan. So hopefully that gets picked up and distributed within the year so I can see it. Overall, Jenna Ortega, it seems to be working with interesting directors, at the very least, directors with names. She is doing multiple types of genres. I hope that she's sort of getting out of this, like, moody teenager thing. Obviously, we have yet to see her roles in these movies, but I'm excited for when she is no longer a teenager. So, yeah. Next is Robert Pattinson. His year was okay. He had two releases in Mickey 17 and Die My Love. Both movies that I was way more excited for in theory, and then I saw them and I liked both of them. I did really enjoy both movies, but I think I was hoping that they would both like absolutely blow my mind in a way that they just kind of didn't. But that's okay. He was great in both movies. I will say that. Like, Mickey 17 is a genuinely fantastic performance from Robert Pattinson, and Bong Joon-ho is doing interesting stuff in that movie. It is cool that a sci-fi movie like that was even released in wide release in 2025. It didn't do very well at the box office. Sad to see. But, pretty cool, right? Die My Love was... That's just a movie that it was, nobody really knew what to do with it. It's co-starring him and Jennifer Lawrence. They both gave great performances. Lynn Ramsey is a very cool director. I like her stuff. But yeah, so Robert Pattinson, like, I don't think anything that came out this year hurt him necessarily. I just think that, outside of playing Batman, we still have yet to see if, like, he can lead a big movie on his own and really get, like, at least box office out of it. But I think he's genuinely one of the most interesting actors that we have today. So this coming year, he has a pretty big year, along with Zendaya, who's like in most of the same stuff with him. He has, the Odyssey, the new Dune movie, and the drama, all of which I am extremely excited for. And at the very least, Odyssey and Dune will be financial successes. I guess we'll have to see about the drama. My prediction is that it does about as well as Challengers, I think. He also has Prime Time coming out that I am excited for. That sounds very interesting. And then he has Here Comes the Flood, which is a crime thriller co-starring Daisy Edgar Jones and Denzel Washington, directed by the City of God guy. That sounds interesting as well. So I don't know if either of those will come out this year. I hope they do. They're in post-production, so I hope so. And then obviously he has the Batman on the horizon. So Robert Pattinson over the next couple years is going to be pretty busy. Lots of opportunity for success, for critical acclaim. He is consistently working with talented directors in multiple different genre spaces, in multiple different types of roles. Once again, I think he's doing all the right stuff. He's being a pretty good boy. From there, we have Emma Stone. This one will be pretty short. She's been working with Yorgos Lanthimos, and they do really interesting, wacky work together. And if she just keeps working with Yorgos Lanthimos, as long as his filmography stays at least somewhat diverse, I'm always interested to see what they do together. I do like that she did something with Ari Aster this year. Her role in Eddington wasn't huge or anything, but I thought it was interesting. I liked that she was part of that movie, and I liked that she wasn't the lead in it. I liked that she was doing something more supporting. I also loved seeing her in that one show with Benny Safdie and Nathan Fielder like a year ago, The Curse. That was cool too. So I don't know exactly what she's gonna be doing next. I heard something about her and Jennifer Lawrence producing a Miss Piggy movie together. No idea what that's about. I'm sure whatever she does next will be interesting. It seems like she's sort of in a category of her own, which is really cool place to be as a movie star. It seems like when people go to see a movie from her now, they are expecting something kind of funny, kind of interesting. Yeah, so I don't think she like super needs to diversify her like genres or anything. It just seems like she naturally has an eye for interesting work, which is I think also what makes her such a good producer. She's been doing a lot of producing work that I think is consistently interesting. I like seeing her taste. I think she has good taste. I like Emma Stone. From there, we have Adam Sandler, who sort of made another play at an Oscar this year with Jay Kelly, and that didn't work out, obviously. And I kind of feel bad for Adam Sandler because it seems like starting around the Meyerowitz stories, people were like super hyped to like kind of recognize him in like an academy setting. And I think there was like this whole idea of like, oh yeah, let's get Adam Sandler like an Oscar nomination. And then it didn't happen for the Meyerowitz stories, and so everybody was like, okay, all right, well, we'll get him next time. And then Uncut Gems came around, and they're like, this is perfect, this is like the best role for him to get an Oscar nomination, let's fucking go. And then he didn't for Uncut Gems, and people are like, damn, that like really stings actually. And then like the following year with Hustle, there was like a little bit of a thing like when people try and get like a wave going, but it's like, this one, all right, we'll wait for some, we'll wait. And then Jay Kelly came out, and I think, I don't know, at least like the vibe I'm feeling is like people are like maybe a little burnout on like trying to get Adam Sandler that Oscar nomination. Like, dude, I mean, it didn't happen for Uncut Gems, so honestly, I'm just like, I'll whatever. I don't really care at this point. I could be just projecting way too much, but like that's kind of how it feels. Outside of that, I also think it's just unfortunate that he's just like in Netflix land, like since Uncut Gems, he hasn't really had like a theatrically distributed movie. I saw Jay Kelly in a theater, but that's because there's a theater near me that plays Netflix movies, at least like the awards ones. So Adam Sandler is sort of becoming a TV screen movie star, and that is sad because he used to be able to open movies in theaters just with his name. And I hope we see that again, but I don't know. I don't know if we will. So that's sad. Adam Sandler is Adam Sandler. I'm not gonna like give notes on like what I think he should do with his career because he seems pretty comfortable with like making his usual comedy fare and then like making an attempt at like doing something, more serious, trying to get an Oscar nomination. And like I think he's consistently good with that stuff. But yeah, I don't really know like what director would really get him to that point. I mean, the Safdies and Noah Baumbach definitely seem like directors that could get you a nomination. So if not them, I don't really know who, which is sad. So sorry, Adam. Speaking of Safdie people, Dwayne Johnson, he tried this year. You know what I mean? I really admire the effort that he put into the Smashing Machine, and he was totally kind of like Timothy with Marty Supreme. Like he was super down to promote it. He was super hyped about it. I thought what he did was admirable. I didn't love the movie. I don't think a ton of people did. It is sad to see that a movie that cost that much totally flopped at the box office, but it seems like most of that cost was going to The Rock anyways. So maybe he could just learn from that and just, continue to do smaller movies. Maybe those budgets can go down a little bit. That way they're not as much of a flop if they don't perform that well. Because I definitely think it is kind of ridiculous that that movie cost $50 million. I don't see it on the screen. You know, like the makeup is pretty good, and like obviously they set it in like a period setting, but like it's nothing insane. It's like just pretty obvious that that money went to The Rock and Emily Blunt. So it's like, you know, take on some smaller movies. Like if you want, you know, this like serious acting stuff, do that, which I think is really good. I think it's really good that his career is heading in that direction where he's willing to do more, you know, serious roles, more actory type work. I still think that his best performance in anything is in Pain and Gain. I think it's a really interesting movie, and I think his character in that movie is really good, and I don't think that there's anybody who could have played him like him. And so I would love to see him still continue to do more stuff like that. I just don't think he needs to be paid as much. But yeah, it's nice to see him get out of that sort of bland chat GPT type blockbuster stuff that he's been doing. So, you know, better luck next time. I hope that whatever you do next turns out good, that you do another interesting role, and that it's possibly more recognized, you know? Okay, Margot Robbie. This one's also going to be quick. She had a movie that came out this year. I don't know if you've already forgotten about it, because I almost did in writing this, in like coming up with this video. She had a movie called like A Big Beautiful Journey or something like that, which unfortunate timing because it came out while like the big bold beautiful bill or whatever the Trump bill was like also happening, and like they just have similar names, and I'm just like, ugh, okay, that association just isn't great. I didn't see the movie. Didn't hear great things about it. It flopped at the box office. It is sort of bizarre that her and Colin Farrell did like a romance that, I don't know, just like didn't do well. But I'm sure Wuthering Heights will do pretty well. Seems like she's gonna kind of bounce back with that. She is like one of the only actors in Hollywood who I think, like Timothy Chalamet, can produce stuff and market stuff and like just get a whole thing going for a movie. Like I think out of all the lead actors in Hollywood who market their movies, her and Timmy are like at the top of their game with like marketing their movies. I think that she obviously did an amazing job with Barbie, and I think that her marketing with Wuthering Heights is going well and will continue. I think that Wuthering Heights will probably be a box office success. Yeah, I think it's cool that she's such a good, you know, producer and marketer in that aspect. I'm excited to see her career grow in that aspect. Obviously, she's taking roles with like interesting directors. Like even though that one movie bombed, it was directed by Kogonada, which like on paper would be a cool collaboration. Emerald Fennel is like whatever, but like at the very least, her movies look dope as hell. Like I do love the cinematography in her movies, and so you know she knows how to create an image. And if Margot Robbie is in that image, looks pretty good. You know, the next couple I have are movie stars who like this past year sort of like launched an attempt at being like leading their own movies, and I think one did better than the other. And so Ke Huy Quan, I think, is the one where it is unfortunate his movie didn't do too well. Love Hurts. I think on paper, seeing him lead like an action rom-com would be really cool, but it wasn't super well received. It didn't get, you know, didn't make a lot of money. I would love to see another director take a stab at it. I would love to see him do something with like Chad Stahelski, or I think that's how you pronounce his name, the John Wick guy. Or, you know, I think John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein, I think are their names, the people who did like Game Night and Dungeons and Dragons. I would love to see them do like an original action comedy starring Ke Huy Quan. I really think, you know, he just needs to be utilized by the right director who knows how to make an energetic action comedy like that, like the Daniels, you know. And so I hope he gets another shot at leading a movie. I am bummed that his movie didn't do too well. So better luck next time. The other person who sort of kind of like did a starring vehicle this past year, and did do pretty well, is Keke Palmer. She had One of Them Days, obviously co-starring SZA. It did really well at the box office, and it stuck around in the, you know, the top 10 at the box office for a little while. It was cool to see a studio comedy led by two black women do that well at the box office. And I saw it. I thought it was pretty funny. I liked it a lot. And I would love to see both of them, but especially Keke Palmer lead more movies, because like SZA obviously already has like a huge music career. She doesn't need this. But Keke Palmer, I would love to see her lead more movies. And even this past year, she had like a supporting role in a couple more comedies that just looked like not nearly as interesting. Yeah, I think in like another era, she could be like, I don't know, like an Eddie Murphy type where she's just doing like a comedy every year or something. Or like she could probably do a lot of like family comedies too. Like I would love to see her do something like a Daddy Daycare or like an Are We There Yet? Like, you know, with Ice Cube or something. Like she should be doing way more starring roles in comedies and in non-comedies too. I loved her role in Nope. So she is somebody where I loved her movie this past year. I would love to see her do more in the coming years. And I'm just like hoping that a director comes along and really knows how to utilize her. I hope that more comedic scripts that where she is the lead come her way. I would happily see more comedies starring Keke Palmer. So let's make this happen, guys. Okay, Ana de Armas. Her year this past year was not great. She had Ballerina, which ended up being sort of a box office disappointment. Cool to see her doing an action movie, but yeah, I honestly I was way more interested in her performance in Eden. Eden itself is like not a great movie, but she is easily the best part of that movie. She is giving such a fun performance. If I were in charge of the Oscars, she would be nominated for Best Supporting Actress. I know that sounds insane, but I loved her performance in Eden. That is like the element of that movie that keeps that movie watchable, in my opinion. So I would love to see her play more villains in the future. Like, I just bottle that energy. She's so good at it. Yeah, I'm bummed we haven't seen more stuff from her in the past couple years, but I really do think that, you know, she is a talented actor. I think she's a very fun presence. She's obviously very attractive. And so, yeah, let's see more Ana de Armas stuff. Okay, my last person with like their own segment would be Millie Bobby Brown. And the only reason I'm giving her her own segment is because I think she's in a really interesting place. Genuinely, I don't really know if her main interest is even in acting. It doesn't seem like it, but I could be wrong. She's gotten a lot of hatred for her performance in Stranger Things, the most recent season, which again isn't movies, but it is part of the conversation. Which it is sad to see that like she is going down that direction. The other unfortunate part of it is sort of like Adam Sandler. Like, she is just, she's got that Netflix curse. Like, she just, like, all of her stuff has been with Netflix. So, like, it makes it feel like she's not even a movie star. She's, like, a TV movie star. My big thing with her is, like, I would love to see her get out of Netflix and, like, do something that's actually on, like, a theater screen. Something that makes her feel substantial. And like I said, I don't even know if that's like something she's interested in. But like I feel like I could see her like career like going in a couple different directions. So like with like her image now, like it seems like she is going for this like very refined, like very classy, you know, like persona outside of like her acting work. And like I don't know, it's kind of like I don't know why, but like it is making me think of like a young Keira Knightley, sort of like what Keira Knightley was doing in like the early 2000s. And so I guess sort of similar to like Enola Holmes, it would be interesting to see Millie Bobby Brown do more period pieces, but on the flip side, it is harder for her to do period pieces when her face is getting more modernized by the day. So might be a little tough. I guess she could go down the, same path as like Emma Watson or Haley Steinfeld or something. There's plenty of people to model the career off of, but I think Millie Bobby Brown, it would be cool to see her outside of Netflix. I think that's the main thing I'm saying with this segment. If anybody from Stranger Things does become a movie star, it is definitely Sadie Sink. I am really excited to see what she does outside of outside of Stranger Things. I think she has the actual like talent performance wise for it. She has the face for it. She yeah, and I mean she's gonna be in the newest Spider-Man movies, so that'll be really interesting to see. I'm excited to see her grow, but I would also be interested to see how Millie grows. So, we'll see. Okay, so I have a couple of like mini categories for movie stars. The first one I'm gonna do is movie stars who sat this year out, this past year, 2025. We have Zendaya, we have Tom Holland, Saoirse Ronan. Really excited to see Bad Apples. Robert Downey Jr., Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Gosling. They all sat this year out. Not that I'm particularly excited to see everything that they have coming out, but just like nothing to note there. Old guard. These are these are movie stars who have been movie stars for a long time, and they did release stuff. Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible, Brad Pitt with F1. That was pretty good. Leonardo DiCaprio, easily the most interesting of this bunch, still doing consistently interesting work. George Clooney, Jay Kelly, and then Julia Roberts had After the Hunt. More interesting than people give it credit for. So, boring. This category is boring. These are people who did movies, but the movies they did, I just did not find very interesting, or their work in the movies very interesting. But, whatever. We have Scarlett Johansson. She did Jurassic World. She had like a very small role in a Wes Anderson movie. Whatever. Florence Pugh. She did Thunderbolts. I don't care. Mahershala Ali. One of my favorite actors working today. He just did like a Jurassic World movie. Didn't see it. Don't care. Chris Pratt. He's probably just boring in general now. I don't think he'll ever do anything interesting again. We'll see. I don't know. Okay. We have people I miss. These are people I don't think have done substantial movie work in a couple of years, that I would love to see a movie from again. And with some of them, we're going to get more this coming year, so I'm excited for that. I miss Kristen Wiig. I miss Viola Davis. I don't count G whatever. That's a TV movie. Jake Gyllenhaal. Same thing. Roadhouse is a TV movie. Daniel Kaluuya. I really miss him. Emma Watson. Where'd she go? Melissa McCarthy. I really miss her. Theatrically released Melissa McCarthy movies. Where are they? Jennifer Aniston. I miss her for sure. Bubbling. These are people who I think are on the precipice of movie stardom. And I could see in the next year or two becoming full-on movie stars. We have McKenna Grace, Mason Thames. These are the leads of Regretting You. Emma Myers. I think that's her, right? She was in Wednesday. Josh O'Connor. He is somebody I would call like letterboxed famous. So like, but like not particularly to like everyday moviegoers. Although he's getting there. Wake Up Dead Man definitely helped out. And then we have Zoe Dutch. Shooting star. These are people who were like sort of shot past, anybody who's like slowly going towards movie star status, and they just like shot up to that. And, it's really debatable. Like, we'll see if they stick around in the long run.
but for right now, they are the talk of the town. I have two. I have David Cornsweet and Chase Infinity. So I would love to see both of them stick around. I think they both will. And then we have graduating class. These are people who I think became movie stars this past year. We have Elle Fanning. She led a Predator movie, co-led a Predator movie, and she got her first Oscar nomination. So that's pretty cool. I think if you put her in a movie, people will be interested. And then we have Jacob Elordi. He also got his first Oscar nomination with Frankenstein. He's going to be leading Wuthering Heights and that sci-fi movie from Ridley Scott. Good batch of movie stars to discuss. I think we're going to have a lot of fun this coming year. Maybe I'll make another one of these next year. I would love to like keep tabs on these people and see how they're doing with their careers and stuff. I love talking about this like they're making plays and it's like all a big game. Because I'm interested in this stuff and I'm sure other people are maybe too. I don't know. Hopefully you like the video. I'll see you later. I can wave with my foot again.